and there is no resolution in sight for the Walt Disney Company when it comes to Snow White 2025 at the box office. This is exactly why Bob Iger, the Disney CEO, is in pure panic mode over not just the Rachel Ziegler backlash, but the entire backlash surrounding this movie in general.
That the producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Ziegler's appearances on their media platforms. Kind of tough.
Is Disney making a massive mistake with Snow White 2025? After months of backlash, public relations disasters, and financial disappointments, the studio is now faced with one of its biggest challenges yet, salvaging a beloved fairy tale in the wake of a failed remake. The first attempt, starring Rachel Ziegler, sent shockwaves through fans and critics alike, sparking a wave of criticism over everything from casting choices to the film's tone. Now Disney is rebooting the remake, but can they undo the damage? Or has the legacy of Snow White been forever tarnished? Stick around, because we're about to dive deep into the controversy, the fallout, and the studio's bold attempt at redemption.
And just how once trusted critics that shilled for the Disney Company all the time, even they are beginning to turn their back against them. That's how bad this movie truly is. Even if you look at the IMDb rating score, that's when you really know how terrible this movie is and how it really hit rock bottom.
When Disney first announced Rachel Ziegler as their Snow White for the live-action remake, the casting choice quickly became a lightning rod for controversy. Ziegler, best known for her breakout role in West Side Story, was hailed by some as a talented actress, but her comments leading up to the film's release painted her as a polarizing figure. In interviews, Ziegler dismissed the original 1937 Snow White, going as far as to label the prince character irrelevant and downplay the romantic storyline that had captivated audiences for decades. These remarks quickly went viral, sparking heated debates on social media. For many, it wasn't just about the casting, it was about what Ziegler represented in a broader cultural context. Fans of the original Snow White were frustrated with what they saw as a push to modernize and correct a story that had stood the test of time. Rather than honoring the classic Disney tale, it felt like Disney was trying to erase the very essence of what made Snow White iconic. Ziegler's own words only added fuel to the fire, as many fans accused her of being dismissive of the legacy that Snow White represented. Instead of being a part of a beloved tradition, she became the face of the studio's attempts to cater to modern sensibilities, and not in a way that resonated with longtime fans. Behind the scenes, this sparked a flurry of internal discussions at Disney. Could they course correct the damage done by Ziegler's controversial comments and the negative reception? It was clear the backlash wasn't going away. Ziegler's casting quickly turned from a selling point to one of the film's biggest liabilities. Was this the right person to lead such an iconic role, or had Disney made a mistake from the start?
There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Yeah. Weird. Super weird. So we didn't do that this time. It's no longer 1937, and we absolutely wrote a Snow White that is
saved by the prince.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about
she's gonna die.
true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can.
The disastrous reception of Disney's first attempt at a live-action Snow White was not just a blow to its creative vision, it had real financial and critical consequences. The film, which was meant to breathe new life into one of Disney's most iconic properties, failed to deliver on nearly every front. From box office underperformance to disappointing merchandise sales, it became clear that something was terribly wrong with the project. At the heart of the issue was a severe disconnect between what Disney had envisioned and what audiences were willing to accept. Despite heavy marketing and high expectations, the film's reception was overwhelmingly negative. Critics slammed it for its lack of heart and for straying too far from the original story. The film's bold attempts to modernize Snow White, whether it was the revisionist take on the romance or the exclusion of beloved characters, left fans feeling betrayed and alienated. What was once a fairy tale filled with magic, wonder, and timeless themes had been stripped of much of its charm, replaced by what many perceived as forced political correctness. The financial fallout was just as severe. Disney expected big returns from the Snow White brand, but merchandise tied to the film bombed. Major retailers slashed prices on toys and apparel just weeks after their release, and the company was left with millions of dollars in unsold inventory. Not only was the movie struggling at the box office, but Disney was now facing a major financial hit from its failed marketing campaign and lackluster consumer products. The damage wasn't just critical, it was financial too, and the stakes were higher than ever. In the wake of this failure, Disney knew they couldn't afford another misstep. If they hoped to salvage the Snow White legacy, they would have to make a major course correction, and fast.
After one hell of a PR tour, Disney's live-action Snow White is finally, I know, you were wondering.
The backlash to Disney's Snow White remake wasn't just loud, it was relentless, and it came from all directions. Fans of the original 1937 animated classic felt personally attacked by the film's drastic changes. For many, Snow White wasn't just another Disney movie, it was a cherished part of their childhood, a cornerstone of Disney's magic. The modern updates, especially to the romance between Snow White and the prince, were viewed as unnecessary and damaging. Social media quickly became a battleground, with fans posting their frustrations under hashtags like Not My Snow White and Disney Fail. What was supposed to be a progressive take on an old story ended up alienating the very audience Disney was trying to appeal to. The controversy surrounding Rachel Ziegler only amplified the discontent. Her dismissive comments about the original film, especially her criticism of the prince as irrelevant, were seen as an affront to the legacy of Snow White. What was meant to be a modern feminist update to the fairy tale came across as disrespectful, with many fans feeling that Disney was more interested in making a statement than telling a compelling story. Instead of empowering women, as the studio had hoped, the changes felt like an unnecessary reworking of a story that didn't need fixing. The outrage wasn't just confined to fans. Hollywood critics, once staunch allies of Disney, started to turn on the studio. The film's failure to live up to expectations made it difficult to ignore the larger problem within Disney's recent slate of live-action remakes. Critics began questioning Disney's motives, calling out the lack of authenticity in their attempts to rewrite history. What was once a trusted studio was now being criticized from both inside and outside the industry. It wasn't just a loud minority. This backlash had momentum, and Disney had no choice but to acknowledge that their attempts to modernize Snow White had missed the mark completely.
That despite my flaws, and despite my cracks and my breaks, and there are many of them,
she's a good actress.
that at every premiere and everything I do, people will wait in line to see.
Wow. The ego on this girl is ridiculous. Wow.
She destroyed hundreds of millions of dollars worth of IP for Disney, but she also has destroyed her career and the careers of anybody who worked on the movie.
In response to the catastrophic failure of the first Snow White remake, Disney made a bold decision: reboot the franchise. The studio acknowledged that it had missed the mark with its previous attempt and was now facing an uphill battle to restore both the brand's integrity and the confidence of its audience. The announcement of a new Snow White project was framed as a chance to course correct, to return to the roots of what made the original 1937 film so magical. Disney's executives made it clear that this reboot wouldn't be just another attempt to ride the coattails of a classic. This time, the focus would be on honoring the beloved elements of the original while still introducing some subtle, thoughtful updates. The intent was not to revise history, but to capture the timeless essence of Snow White, the fairy tale atmosphere, the iconic characters, and the music that had become synonymous with the brand. This reset was being pitched as a way to restore Disney's relationship with its multi-generational fan base, many of whom felt betrayed by the previous remake's radical changes. The announcement emphasized the return of familiar faces, the beloved forest animals, the classic songs like Someday My Prince Will Come, and of course the dwarfs, who would be reimagined with more care and sensitivity than in the previous film. Disney was clearly listening to fan feedback, and this reboot was designed to be more than just a cash grab. It was a second chance for the studio to prove it could respect its legacy and deliver a story that would resonate with fans young and old. But the real challenge lay in the execution. Could Disney successfully revive Snow White without repeating the mistakes of the past? Could this reboot truly bring back the magic, or was it already too late?
And you have parents looking at Disney being like, what are you doing, guys? This is supposed to be a place where magic happens, and all you're doing is indoctrinating kids, and you're having this person be the poster child of the Democratic Party.
The producers, far left-wing activists in Hollywood, are turning on her, and Disney has canceled all of Rachel Ziegler's appearances on their media platforms. Kind of tough.
As Disney gears up for its second attempt at Snow White, one key question looms. Can the studio return to its roots while still offering something fresh for modern audiences? The new version of Snow White promises to honor the timeless qualities of the original 1937 classic, while subtly updating the story to reflect today's sensibilities. Disney is keen to preserve the emotional heartbeat of the original, from the fairy tale atmosphere to the iconic music, but with the right balance of contemporary touches. The casting of the new Snow White is central to this reset. After the backlash surrounding Rachel Ziegler, Disney seems to be focusing on finding an actress who embodies the classic Hollywood elegance that fans expect from the role. The lead will reportedly be someone with a charm and relatability that can resonate across generations, while also possessing the vocal talent needed to carry the iconic songs of the film. Gone are the days of controversial casting decisions. This Snow White needs to be someone audiences can root for, someone who feels like a natural fit for the beloved role. Another major focus of the reboot is the involvement of legacy animators and consultants who helped shape Disney's Renaissance-era classics. By bringing in these seasoned professionals, Disney is hoping to capture the visual and emotional consistency that defined films like Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid. Their expertise will ensure that the film feels authentic and true to the spirit of Disney's past, even as the studio updates certain aspects to fit with modern expectations. With these changes, Disney aims to return to a formula that has worked for decades, one that blends the magic of nostalgia with the vibrancy of new ideas. But will it be enough to erase the memory of the last remake's failure, or will the new Snow White face a similar fate?
Look no further than what Disney is doing with their woke, DEI, feminist...
Tell me if this is attractive to you. Like, does this... Imagine you invested into her being the face of the movie, and she's the main character, and she's trying to promote the movie. Would this make you want to go watch the movie when she's starring in it and she's the main character?
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
Marketing will play a pivotal role in Disney's attempt to reboot Snow White and restore the magic that made the original a timeless classic. After the critical and financial disaster of the previous remake, Disney knows that its promotional efforts must be flawless this time around. The studio is planning an extensive, carefully crafted marketing campaign that will start long before the film's release. Teaser art, soundtrack previews, and behind-the-scenes documentaries are just the beginning. Disney understands that it has to reintroduce Snow White to a skeptical audience, one that was burned by the previous film's failure. Disney isn't just focusing on traditional advertising methods. They're taking a more integrated approach. This reboot will have a significant presence at Disney parks, with Snow White-themed attractions and merchandise that will hit stores and online platforms in the lead-up to the film's release. Fans will be able to experience the magic of Snow White in the parks again, creating anticipation and excitement for the movie before it even hits theaters. Disney is hoping that by reintroducing the character across multiple platforms, it can reignite the connection fans once had with the story. But will this marketing push be enough to rebuild trust in the franchise? It's a risky strategy, especially given the backlash Disney faced from the first remake. The studio knows it needs to convince fans that this Snow White will be different, that it won't repeat the mistakes of the past. With a reputation on the line, Disney's marketing team has been tasked with crafting a message that resonates with both die-hard fans and newcomers alike. If this marketing campaign succeeds, Disney may just pull off the redemption it so desperately needs. But if it falls short, Snow White could find itself fading into the shadows once again.
Disney responded by scaling back the premiere. I don't know that anyone really showed up to the premiere. The Rotten Tomatoes reviews are looking pretty bad, and they did, it seems like they tried to tweak a few things, but this movie is bad.
As Disney embarks on this second chance for Snow White, the stakes couldn't be higher. It's not just about delivering another remake, it's about restoring the studio's reputation and proving it can still tap into the magic that made it a household name. After the public backlash, financial losses, and critical disappointment of the first attempt, Disney knows that getting this reboot right is make or break. The new Snow White is more than just a film. It's a test of Disney's ability to adapt, learn from its past mistakes, and reconnect connect with its audience. The pressure is immense, and while the studio is taking steps to right the wrongs of the previous version, the question remains, can they truly win back the trust of fans who felt alienated and betrayed? With a revamped marketing strategy, a return to the original film's charm, and a focus on timeless storytelling, Disney is hopeful that the new version will strike the right balance between nostalgia and modern updates. Yet, whether this reboot will reignite the magic or end up as another failed experiment in the studio's live-action remake saga is still uncertain. The legacy of Snow White and Disney itself is on the line. In the end, Snow White 2025 isn't just about fairy tales, it's about redemption. If Disney can successfully navigate the delicate balance between honoring its past and embracing the future, it could remind the world why the fairest one of all still holds a special place in our hearts. But the clock is ticking, and only time will tell if Disney can reclaim the magic, or if Snow White's legacy will forever be tarnished.